Hello world, I'm Chris,
And I'm Joel.
and today we are ranking one of our favorite bands. It would have been our favorite band in the 80s or 90s because we're both drummers, and we believe this has the best drummer that has been in the world, Neil Peart. We actually didn't know who Rush was until our freshman year in high school.
1985. We were both in the marching band.
Yeah, and their new album Power Windows from where is it right here?
1985.
95.
That's
was-
your music.
Yeah, yeah.
1985.
Their new album was coming out, and they were releasing a video on MTV called "The Big Money," which we didn't know anything about, but we're in the practice at night at our school. And Lowell, one of our fellow drummers, said, "Hey everybody, Big Money, the Rush's new video is on MTV tonight." So when we got home, it
That
was
was
premiering at the
back
same
when
time.
MTV actually
Yeah.
showed videos.
Yeah. I just saw a meme on that.
Yeah.
By the MTV.
Congratulations to 15
years of music.
Even though it's your 40th year anniversary. Right.
Yeah. So when we did get home, we watched it, and I'm sure we saw them before because I kind of recall, even though we didn't know who they were, I recall the Body Electric video and
Yes.
what's the
Distant Early Warning.
Yeah, I recall those videos, even though we weren't fans yet.
And
but-
yeah, and it would have been just like having background noise on the TV,
Yeah.
probably more.
So of course I immediately went out and bought the album after that video, and just isn't your number one today is from Power
my number
Windows?
one is off of Power Windows.
Yes, I knew that too. So it's actually out of all the albums they have, this is my favorite.
It would be my
It's
favorite too.
very close to Hold Your Fire, which is funny when you look at all the Rush fans out there. They don't like the 80s era of Rush.
That'd be
because-
the controversy
Yeah.
regarding Rush is because Geddy Lee started doing keyboards.
Yeah,
And-
up till then they were just the
And that's
guitars.
another reason we started this, at least I wanted to start this, is because you got these groups, and we've already covered a couple of them where their music changed, and you got the beginning fans feeling like they got sold out.
Yeah.
Same with Rush, once the keyboards, I don't know that they sold out because...
Well, I like their older stuff just
Their
as
older
well.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah,
well,
but-
not just as
You
well,
know,
but
do you
close.
want? Do you want? And we actually grew up with a guy who played keyboards.
Yeah.
He didn't like Rush, and he once told me all their stuff sounds the same. And who'd he like? He liked ELO.
Oh, there's
Really? And you're telling me Rush? And you really listen to Rush stuff? No, it does not sound all the same. Especially at that time period was when they were changing to keyboards.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like their older stuff.
So we mentioned last week that we're like an hour away from Cleveland, and it's funny because Rush has
Their start.
their
ties.
start has ties to Cleveland. They're a Canadian band. They're from Canada, but they put out an album without Neil Peart. They had a drummer, John Rutsey. This is his only album with Rush. And it's just a self-titled album, and they put out this single called "Working Man." It was a long song. I don't know how it was, 7 or 8 minutes, maybe 10. I don't know.
No, it's not 10. It's
Okay,
not
so, but there was a DJ. I don't know the name of the DJ, but there is a video that Rush put out now,
10. Really?
animated.
Okay.
It's Spirit of Radio.
Oh, okay.
It's the Spirit of Radio song, and it's an animated video. It's pretty cool. It goes through the kind of the history of how Rush became famous.
Well,
So if you go watch
look,
that video,
There-
it'll show you an animated DJ listening to it, and then
there
put it on the
are a
radio.
lot of documentaries about Rush now. By now,
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
there's like 3 or 4 of them out there.
Yeah, so really they kind of started in Cleveland with a DJ playing their song, and then another DJ, who is that? And then they just went from there, and that song was being played on the radio. I don't know if it was overplayed. To my knowledge, I don't know if they put any other singles out from the first album. I see.
Technically, they
Did they do "Finding My Way"? Was that another single?
I think it was.
Okay.
But Rush is one of those bands where you look at, you can't go by the Billboard Top 100 because their stuff doesn't get played on normal radio.
Yeah.
Rarely.
Now, the funny thing is, even though they didn't have Neil Peart, they still have a time change. because when they went to
Yeah, that's
the
true.
instrumental part, it's a different. It's faster. Yeah, it's faster.
Yes, it is faster.
And then it slows down, so they still did the drumming stuff.
Yep.
But he left the band. I thought he got fired, but I looked up and he was actually for medical reasons. And then they hired Neil Peart. I don't think he was a friend of theirs.
You know what's funny about the fact that they had a Cleveland start is it took them so long to get into the Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
And there, you had fans going, "This is," even the band is like, "Whatever."
It's possible. Maybe it's because they weren't mainstream,
Or they were Canadian. I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot of. If you look at '80s artists, there's probably a lot that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that aren't.
Yeah, the problem with the Hall of Fame, I'd be like, okay, give me all the names of, okay, they all need to go in there, but they're a limit every year. It's just limited. I think it's 5.
It's limited, and it just like the
So
Academy.
it just takes a while to get all.
And I was telling you this
people.
before. It's like the Academy Awards. They're picking from a list of movies that nobody's seen. Okay, you're putting that on. We have to pick from this chart. Nobody's ever. Box office.
And if you have not seen when they were inducted in the Hall of Fame, you've got to watch when Alex Lifeson got up to do a speech, because his entire speech is him going blah 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 blah. Seriously, that is what he does, and everybody's laughing and following it and saying that's great.
Because he probably thought it was a farce
Yeah.
because it took him so long to get in, right?
Yeah, but yeah, so it's if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. It's funny. So yeah, the first self-titled debut, and they did "Working Man." If you haven't heard that, that's still played on classic radio. A lot of songs that weren't singles you just hear on classic radio all the time.
And let me just.
There's
tell you,
about 20 that I hear.
we're not getting to our top 10 yet, but out of our top 10, this is probably the rankings that we disagree with the most. And I'll tell you, when I say that, I mean, out of all the groups we've done so far, we've agreed, at least for every group, we've agreed on 6 of them that should be in the top 10.
Yeah.
But for Rush, it's only 5.
Yeah,
So we defer on at least 5 songs.
So I became a fan, and I started going back and listening to their older stuff, and then they'd put a new album out, and I go buy that. And so this was my collection of cassettes. And of course, they started doing CDs instead of cassettes, so I'm like, oh, well, I gotta get all those. There's all my CDs.
And yet,
And now you just listen to them on YouTube.
now you consider it your 10th band. That's what you
Yeah.
ranked it. Is there was 9
Yeah, well,
better than Rush?
I don't listen to them as much as I used to. I mean,
It's overkill.
we had a drum set, and that's pretty much why I got all these, is so I could
Yeah, you
play the drums.
you put the
while
headphones
listening
on
to-
and you play to the songs.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, so then they had, they put out Fly By Night, and of course that is the song you hear all the time on classic radio if they play from that album, is that song, Fly By Night. Did they have any other singles from that?
No,
No, okay, so.
but it did have.
They really have only had one top 40 hit in mainstream media, and we'll get to that one.
I think you agree with me. Fly By Night also has their worst song.
You said it's
Rivendell.
Rivendell.
Rivendell. If you listen to Rivendell, it's one of those songs where it has an ending, and then it keeps going, and it
Yeah.
has an ending. You're like,
Yeah, we think
not
it's over, and then he starts
Keep
singing
going,
again. Yeah, Geddy Lee is not a ballad singer, and that sounds like what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then actually, Fly By Night and the next album was Crust Steel. Both put out the
came out
same year. Crust Steel, I got it because I'm like getting all their albums. And I listened to it. I'm like, oh, this is their worst. I think this is their worst
Rust Steel
album.
is. I don't know if there were any hits.
Now they have 2 good songs on it.
Lakeside Park is
and
on there.
Bastille Day, right? So I like those 2 songs, but the rest I think it's crap. Now, of course, it was 75. That's why we like 80s music, and they're not in the 80s yet. So
Well, if
yeah.
you're 5 years old and you're listening to Rush, no.
yeah. Now the record label wanted them to get more mainstream. So of course, what does Rush do?
Right.
We're doing our own thing. We're doing a theme album, and they
wrote out a song that says this is
Yeah,
about
their
you.
first side is called 2112. It's one song, broke down in sections for the first side of the
And
album.
you actually have radio groups
Yeah.
that were willing to play
Yeah.
the entire side on the radio.
And not only that, they've done that entire side at concert.
Yes, yes.
So, and then of course, Steel was a Farewell to Kings, which had
Closer to the heart.
Close to the Heart, which was, you hear that on classic radio all the time. My favorite song on there is not Closer to the Heart. I liked playing drums to Xanadu, which has got a lot of that fantasy. Of course, 21 Paul started out with Neil Pearce lyrics with the fantasy and
It
sci-fi.
is nothing like Olivia Newton-John's Xanadu, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah. No, it talks about Kubla Khan. I'm like, okay. So he's
historical.
he's all about those weird figures. Again, 2112 and even the next album, Hemispheres, the first side was just a theme. Those two you can go on YouTube and watch. So I put the two sides to animation so you can kind of understand what the heck are you singing about.
And I've seen that for
Yeah.
Genesis. There's when they had Peter Gabriel, there was some guy doing animated storylines with his songs because
Yeah.
they like doing long, drawn out songs
And now
too.
it's not the animation in where it's moving animation. It's
Oh.
a picture up there.
Gotcha.
And it's got the lyrics on there, and so it's
it's
like
not the same.
it's kind of like looking at a comic strip, comic book.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's a picture, and then you go to the next
Any
picture.
hits off of Hemispheres? Because
Hemispheres had the trees, maybe.
Oh, okay, you're right. And Circumstances?
Circumstances, was that a hit? That might, okay, maybe it was put out.
It said it was
but,
on radio. Who knows?
but- Okay, so yeah, there was an album. It was Monsters Out of Metal. It just had from, I don't know if it was that specific year, probably was that specific year of people like Quiet Riot or whatever, and it was just any heavy metal artist to put one song
And
of
I'm
each of those
thinking,
artists.
that actually might be the first time
That you heard,
I heard Rush prior to Power Windows, but I didn't think nothing of it at the time.
Yeah, so, and Tom Sawyer, we said last week that it's probably their most famous song that most people know about.
Non-Rush fans will tell you, yeah, Rush did Tom Sawyer, and then they can't
Yeah.
give you another song.
And that song is actually in a film, the remake of Halloween, when Michael Myers he goes to a garage because he needs his outfit, his Michael Myers outfit, and what he wears is mechanic scrubs apparently. But he's walking into there and Tom Sawyer is playing.
Okay.
So yeah, they're in a film. We talk about Rush being bands being in films. So far, every single band we've done,
But they've never actually had a song for
For a
a
film,
movie,
no.
'cause that's what most of the others did.
but they were in I Love You Man with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
And those two actually tried to play Tom Sawyer in a garage.
No, but I like the scene where Paul Rudd's trying to show his wife in the film. Look how good they are, and he has this boombox which looked like the kind of we had, and he plays it, and it just won't go that high in volume.
Right.
So it's like it doesn't sound that cool. And it's just kind of funny. He played Limelight. You remember? So
Kind of.
and at the end of the film, I believe they go to a Rush concert. So
Right, and they were in their waiting room or whatever where their food was.
yeah,
That's-
and I watch a show called Chicago Fire, and they Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson made a debut in that. Two of the firemen went to the concert and met him backstage. And if you watch the Goldbergs, there is a kid in the school.
Who wears a
Rush
Rush
shirt.
Every time he's on, he's got a Rush shirt.
I don't know if it's every episode. It might be every.
But
episode.
he's never wore a shirt that's not a Rush shirt. I don't
Okay.
think it's always a Rush shirt.
And it's funny because he obviously, because the Goldbergs is the 80s now, depending on what year they're doing, he can't wear any of these shirts after, so they have to keep it.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, so we've seen Fly By Night, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen Power Windows, but that's 80s, so you
Yeah.
could wear that.
Yeah, I don't know what he.
We don't watch Goldbergs regularly, but we've seen enough of them to see this kid with a Rush shirt on.
Right.
So so we had Hemispheres, and then after that, Permanent Waves came out. A lot of people talk about the album covers. The woman in there's a model, and they.
And that's one thing I like about Rush is that, I knew people made weird album covers. You see enough Iron Maiden covers, and they got the weird creatures on their cover. But they had kind of cool covers, with the hurricane and the lady. And then the Farewell to Kings has a guy, was he sitting on a brain on a throne?
Yeah, the throne has
Well,
like
that's
a
a Farewell
puppet. It's
to
a
Kings.
puppet.
That's a Farewell to
Farewell Kings has a puppet.
Yeah.
Hemispheres has the Starman, which I actually went to a flea market up here in a shopping center when I was in high school, and after watching the Power Windows, and they were selling stickers, you know, little 4x4 stickers you could peel off, put on. I don't know. I bought the Starman sticker. I think I got another one that was a Grace Under Pressure. It was just the band members on there, so
Yeah.
I never used them. They were always just sit in a drawer somewhere. What else did I miss?
Nothing. Now we're
Okay, they had between 2112 and Farewell Kings was their first live album. It was
And they
called
were-
All the World's a
they
Stage.
regularly put out live albums every 4 albums.
There was a time when I was getting into Rush, I actually heard, this was late, they do obscure classic things late on the classic radio stations. They actually played All the World's a Stage. So I got to
whole
hear it.
thing?
Yeah, before I bought it, I got to hear it. So they played the drum solo and Geddy Lee Calls, Neil Peart.
The Professor. I remember that.
Yeah,
I heard that.
and that was the first time I heard him play a drum solo. That's probably before I bought Exit Stage Left, because you hear that drum solo, and I like that drum solo.
Yeah.
And then we went to Hold Your Fire tour, the Show of Hands tour, so we heard that. So yeah, you hear a drum. You see, he never plays every tour they have. He plays a different drum solo. Sometimes he has similar things on it. Like when we became when we had a drum set, we subscribed to a magazine called Modern Drummer, and Neil Peart was always in there being nominated for best drummer until they're like, okay, you're just a legend now. We can't. You said they can't vote on it
Right,
anymore.
because he
He's
wins
too good.
every time it's out. So,
Yeah. So, but in one of the issues, he put out a little record. It was square, but you could play it on a
called
turntable.
Pieces of 8
Yeah, and part of that song
is in the Mission.
is in the Mission, and sometimes he plays it on
Right, his
drum solos.
Because he
So,
can play xylophone somehow.
yeah. I don't know if that means he can play piano because he's pretty good at it, but
Yeah, but not, and during that time period, again, electronic drums were being implemented too. So
oh yeah, he had a.
I'll tell you what,
His drum set was entirely around him.
I-
Acoustic facing one way and an electric facing
you
the
would
other.
be hard pressed. You will never convince probably me or you that there's another better drummer out there, and nobody's going to beat his solos. Moving when you got to Power Windows and they put out the video for Mystic Rhythms, that's the first time we found out his drum spun.
Oh yeah.
It turned, and it does that in concert. One side's the acoustic, and the other side is the electronic.
One thing that he does that other drummers don't do is when he's on stage, he plays the song exactly how he does on the album. On the studio album, the beat for beat, he doesn't change at all. There's no freelancing.
Actually,
yeah.
I've heard a few songs where it didn't sound identical to what's on there.
But for the most
For
part,
the most part, it is.
yeah. So
Yeah. Now, I know some of you are going to throw out other drummers out there. Granted, there are some drummers who do some things unusual. I think the Motley Crue drummer, Tommy Lee,
he had
he's
one
been in a cage
that
and it
went
turned
sideways.
upside down. It's on a roller coaster
Yeah.
track and goes above the audience. I'll give him that. That's unique, but he doesn't have a better drum solo than Neil Peart.
Yeah.
So.
And he was turning while he's doing his drum solo.
Right.
And he's also talking during the drum solo too.
He
He's
is?
like, yeah, I saw a drum solo. He's talking to the audience, going, yeah, and I had this dream, and I dreamt that my drum set could do this. He would do that.
Tommy Lee, you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
Tommy Lee was talking to the audience.
Okay.
That he had a dream that his drum set could do this, and then the drum set would do that in front of the audience. He's like, and then I dreamt that it could do this, and then it would do that. And I'm like, okay.
Now, what's funny is
That's just a gimmick at that.
there is actually a video where his track stopped working, and so he was stuck upside down. Find that on YouTube.
That's like being on a roller coaster and
Right.
stuck in the loop.
Now, I've actually seen Rush 3 times. You and me went twice.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who went for the test.
Yeah,
for
we went
Record
to the
Tour.
Presto tour also, and
you remember the
the
guy,
two bunnies on the side.
the guys shaking him for one of the songs. That was kind of corny.
Yeah, we haven't get to the presser yet, but so where were we? Permanent Waves is next,
Okay.
which
Let's get back.
has the two songs that are kind of overplayed now, but you hear Spirit of the Radio all the time and Free Will. Free Will, I think, is a better song because it's not played as much.
I think that too.
It has the time change. Well, they both have time changes.
Yes.
They also, what is there any
Natural
other songs?
Science supposedly was a hit. Jacob's Ladder was the third song on side one.
Yeah, but those two are the ones they play from that album all the time.
Right.
Yeah, and then we went to Moving Pictures,
Everybody
and
knows.
I like you can't see this album cover, but
It's got three.
it's got some
three
people,
reasons that it's called Moving
Yeah,
Pictures.
there's these movers. They're moving paintings, pictures. So they're moving pictures.
Right.
They're moving them. There's people crying about them, so the pictures are moving emotionally. And then on the inside, you have them being recorded with video, which
Yeah,
they were
movies are
they were first
considered
called moving pictures.
Right.
Because hey, look, you can actually it's not just a still.
Yeah.
So and that one had the YYZ. That was their second instrumental. That we
Yeah,
of course,
and
didn't
Moving
write.
Pictures would have this. It's probably the first album where I can say they have a song that to me is not really a single, but it was on their compilation of videos. Vital Signs. I don't remember ever hearing that on the radio, but it's got a video.
Moving
for it.
Pictures also. I don't know if it was the whole album, but at least the B side where they've done the whole thing in concert.
Okay.
So, because you never hear Camera Eye. They did Camera Eye. You can find it right on YouTube. Camera Eye on Witch Hunt and Vital Signs.
I'm actually kind of glad we didn't go see them prior to Power Windows, because we watched the Grace Under Pressure tour, and I'm like, that was kind of a sad concert.
But yeah, so on a classic radio station, you'll hear Tom Sawyer and you'll hear Limelight a lot. So then moving on to, after Moving Pictures, they did their second live album, Exit Stage Left,
Right.
which was the first live album I bought, even though I heard all the World's a Stage first at night, and I heard the drum solo. It was probably the first time I heard Olivia Rodrigo. There's a new song. There's a song that's on there that intros the trees called Boone's Bane. It's just Alex Lifeson acoustic. Pretty cool. Want to check that out? That would, I guess, be considered instrumental too. The cool thing about the cover, which was on, that time people were still buying LP albums.
Cassettes.
No, not before that one. Records. They were
okay.
still buying. So, and you can find this like cassette too, but on the stage, the backstage, you'll find something from every album previously.
But you can only see it on the big album.
Yeah, that's why I said you should get the album. But you can go on YouTube and bring up the picture.
Okay.
It'll show you, and you can see
Nice.
the Starman's there,
Okay.
or the puppet from Farewell to Kings, or the owl from Fly By Nights on the backstage. So they have something from every album on that cover. And that was pretty cool. The drum solo also. And then after that was Signals.
New World Man in 1982. So interestingly, in 1982 would be the only two songs that would rank in the Billboard Top 40 for Geddy Lee, not for Rush. Rush only had one. That was New World Man. It came up to 21. And again, I wouldn't even list New World Man in our top 20 for all of Rush songs, right? But it's the only one that ranked on the Billboard charts in their history in the top 40. But Geddy Lee also had a song with Rick Moranis and the other
Dave
guy,
Thomas.
Dave Thomas.
Not the
Tom-
Wendy's guy.
No, it's from SCTV, since they're all Canadian. That's where Second City
If
is.
anybody saw the weird movie Strange Brew,
Yes,
Who's
that would be the two guys.
Yeah.
And they had a
the
hit.
McKenzie brothers.
McKenzie Brothers.
Yeah.
They had a hit called Take Off. And Geddy Lee had guest vocals, and that actually went all the way up to 16. And what that is, that's similar to Cheech and Chong when they did their comedy albums. Half of the song, it's not even a song, it's them talking interspersed with some song singing. Geddy Lee provided the singing part. But that actually charted higher than New World Man,
yeah.
which shows you the Billboard rankings sometimes are similar to the Academy
Yeah.
Awards. You know, I've never seen that movie, and now it's Best Picture.
No, I don't understand the album. It's called Signals, but it's got a picture of a dog,
and a fire hydrant. I don't know.
And is there anything about they got a lot about people. Analog kid, neural man, digital man, chemistry, that's subdivisions.
No.
Losing it, countdown. What does that have to do with Signals?
Nothing applies.
Countdown, maybe. That's
Nothing
the only
applies
one.
to that picture. I don't get it either.
Yeah. And then the next album after Signals was Grace Under Pressure, which many people don't like. I remember reading an article about them.
I do too. We had a magazine.
They were dissing Neil Peart's
I think
drumming.
it was a comedy. Well, maybe it wasn't a comedy magazine. I remember. Do you remember specifically?
Oh.
Somebody made a comment. It sounded like Alex Lifeson was picking his nose instead of his guitar.
Okay. But they were saying that Alex Van Halen drummed better on 1984 than Neil Peart did on Grace Under Pressure.
I might agree with that. Because that's when Alex Van Halen started doing better drumming than.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Neil Peart didn't do too many weird things on. I mean, the album grows on you when you listen to it. There's some that I'm like, okay, that's just too bland.
Right.
Red Sector A, it's like just a steady.
Yes.
Okay, my gosh, this is boring.
And not only, I think around that time,
not Red Sector A. What's the other one?
there's After Image, Enemy Within, Red Glove, or Red.
It is Red Sector A.
There's Kid Gloves. Okay. There is another red. I can't think of what it is.
No, I think it was Red Sector A, and I was thinking Red Sector A was just another warning, so
Yeah.
my bad.
But you know, also one of the things we noticed is that Rush almost never, put out more than 8 songs per album.
Right.
And you know, albums they were some. If you were lucky, you got one that was 45 minutes long. Most albums were 33 minutes or something around that.
Hemispheres technically is just 4 songs.
Yeah.
Hemispheres, the first side.
Now, granted, most albums are doing a lot more than other bands are in those 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
but still, it's like 8 songs. I feel ripped off.
Well, you shouldn't go by how many songs. You should go by the
Right, the quality.
No, the time limit of it.
Oh, the time limit.
I've seen some albums that were only 30 minutes long. I'm like, how is that? That ain't fair.
Yeah.
Def Leppard's Hysteria was 65
You know what?
minutes.
Our favorite is Power Windows, and it only has 8 songs.
Yeah, but they're all every
unique.
single one is good.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, every single one of them.
Yeah, and Hold Your Fire came out 10. So.
And yeah, a couple according to people, throwaway songs. At the
Yeah.
end.
So, but I was saying about Alex Van Halen. You guys say the intro to Hot for Teacher. That drums. Those
That's
drums.
pretty hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even sure he did it all by himself in one day.
Well, obviously, he had a double bass because
Yeah.
that's the only way to do that kind of thing.
I've seen people try. It sounds similar, but I don't know. So that was Grace Under Pressure, and they put out 2 videos that I remember. And again, those are 2 videos I think we saw before we got to be fans. And I like the videos. They're okay. And then after that, of course, was Power Windows. We were in high school. Big Money. And it's kind of like in the vein of Dire Straits' Money for Nothing with the computer animation with the car.
Better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, better than Def Leppard's animation. I recently watched that. You know, Let's Get Rocked.
Yeah.
It's not good animation, and that
Yeah.
came afterwards.
Yeah, so they had the only 2 videos I can recall is Big Money and Mystic Rhythms.
Yeah. The other one, if there are videos, it's concert related.
Yeah, we were, and at the time we were watching MTV would rank top 20 songs, and there was one point where they were actually, you know, here's videos that might enter next week, and they had they showed Rush, a clip of Rush, and then you came next week, we were hopeful, and it wasn't in the top 20. I'm like, you stink!
Yeah, it's funny. After when the Big Money came out, I can't remember how soon. I wanted a Neil Peart haircut. He had this.
Didn't he have the tail?
He had a good haircut.
Didn't he have a tail too?
He did. I don't know that I could have done the tail, but I wanted that squarish type of fuzzy hair on top, right?
Yeah, when you go back to look at like a Pharaoh the King's days and pictures of them.
Oh yeah, they had the long hair.
and even Neil Peart had a mustache, and it just looks weird.
Fu Manchu or something. And in that video, if you ever watch that video, you'll see the car at the beginning. The license plate is Mr. Big.
Oh yeah,
There's a group called Mr. Big that opened for them when we went
the
to
second
see
when we went to the
Blossom.
Presto tour.
Yeah, and yeah, I noticed, interestingly, their biggest hit has no drums. Even though we're talking about the group with the best drummer.
And I said, Mr. Big, when we went there, I don't know if they changed the lyrics, because I remember them saying "Addicted to Rush." Mr. Big has a hit called "Addicted to That Rush."
Maybe they said that at concert to get.
Yeah, they might have changed the lyrics because they were opening for Rush. So.
Yeah.
Possibility. So after, and then of course they put "Hold Your Fire Out" with a guy juggling the three fireballs.
Yeah, and that's where we went to the concert, and the first concert of theirs.
Yeah.
And I think you were the one that bought the booklet explaining how he came up with the lyrics to all the songs. Power Windows was all about power, and then we get into Hold the Fire. I think it was about force.
Yeah, and you bought the album, the live album Show Hands that was based on that tour. I bought the video cassette, VHS.
Yep.
And I think that's the best
Drum.
La Via Strangiato I've seen.
Oh, okay.
Because they do a laser show during the whole thing, so they got the green lasers going. But I don't know if you remember the lasers while
When we were there.
yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
I just remember, watching the drum solo.
Yeah, and the songs are decent. Everybody's like, doesn't like. I don't like High Water or Tai Chi. I'm like,
Right.
I like Taipan or Tai Chan.
Tai Chi.
The Tai Chi.
No, it is Tai Chan.
The last two. Yeah, I had the album here.
And you know what's funny? I thought about this.
Tai Chan.
With the groups we've done already. Okay, so Huey Lewis has been in a parody video with Weird Al,
Right.
comedian basically.
Yeah.
Phil Collins, he was with Genesis, and they have a video that stars Benny Hill. Okay, anything?
Yeah, anything she does. Yeah.
Billy Joel was in Tell Her About It with comedian Rodney Dangerfield.
Which he probably met while doing Easy Money.
Yeah,
Because
it was part of his movie, right?
Yeah.
So, and skip a few because ZZ Top, not really. Although they were Duck Dynasty, that's considered a comedy show, I guess.
Documentary.
Def Leppard, no, nothing funny about that. But here's Rush. Now, it's not living comedians, but to start their concerts, they got the theme song.
The Three Stooges. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because they are a trio, so you can use that based on that. Not that they were going to be funny.
Yeah, their first hit from Hold Your Fire was Force 10. I remember hearing it on the radio. They didn't have a video for it, but their bigger hit, I think, was Time Stands Still.
Right.
And they had a video with that, and they had the singer
Amy
Amy Mann,
from
and she is
Till
from Till
Tuesday.
Tuesday, who did Voices Carry.
Yes. And I forgot to say this because when we went to the concert, we found out. So from all your live albums, you know that The Spirit of Radio was their entry song.
Yeah.
But when it got to Power Windows, it changed and Big Money became their entry song.
Yeah, I remember they would play the Three Stooges song. As soon as it was over, Alex Lifeson would pick up with The Spirit of Radio, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I do not remember the Big Money thing. Yeah.
well, if show hands, you got show hands, or if you had a show hands, you know.
Yeah, you have to show hands.
Oh, okay.
I had the video cassette and I don't have a VCR anymore. So
Oh,
I can't
that's-
play. Who does?
Well, YouTube.
DVDs.
There's YouTube out there.
DVDs are going out of play. Now everything's digital, so
Right.
yeah,
Now-
stream it.
Also around this time, there's nothing to do with you, but I graduated from our high school, and then went to college. And in my first year of college, I had to take a speech class, right? And we had to pick topics throughout the semester. And one of my topics was on Rush. And so I gave a 3-minute speech just about Rush. And the teacher even asked me, "Hey, what's your favorite song?" And that's where your brain freezes. And
You just
it
pick
wasn't.
the first song that comes
And
to
it
mind.
wasn't. And it wasn't. I said a song, and I knew it wasn't my favorite song. I'm like, dang it. blowing up, and then he mentioned.
But who cares? He
I
doesn't-
know. I think he mentioned Time Standstill as his
Oh,
favorite
dude.
because it just came out. And
I do like with Neil Peart. He did every time with the video, the drums would come up, and then Lee would be singing. Then the drums come up, and Neil Peart's doing something different
Right.
every other time.
Yep.
So he was never boring in that song.
No, he wasn't boring, and he was a happy guy back then. I'll tell you what. When I finally went to the third concert for Test for Echo, he looked like a changed guy, and that was
Yeah.
prior. That was prior to the wife and child dying.
So Neil Peart, his daughter and his wife died, and he got a motorcycle and he was going cross country, and you say he started writing books too.
He has
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so that's later, and that's probably when we get to the albums that we don't care for. But beforehand, we said we went to the Presto was their next album after Hold Your Fire, and we went to that tour.
I
And,
don't remember. Did they play a Show Don't Tell at the concert?
Show Don't Tell was Show Don't Tell the song that was based on the OJ thing, or was that the one from?
I believe it is.
Or was that the song from Test for Echo?
Good quote. Well, the Show Don't Tell talks about
No, it's probably Show Don't
evidence.
Tell. I
Talks
think-
about evidence,
Yeah, I
Exhibit
think-
A and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Show Don't Tell came out after the.
What I don't like about
trial.
that song is I mean, I like the song. I even like the beginning, but the beginning is so darn low. In order to play that on the drums,
Oh yeah,
dun,
yeah.
dun, you really have to crank it.
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
Then they play it back down. I mean, it's a neat, but it's too low.
Yeah, yeah. The song on the album that it really sticks out is Anagram for Mongo, because
Writing
of the lyrics.
Writing
Yeah,
wise, it's amazing.
that
You know,
Neil Peart
he
came up
gets-
with all the stuff.
He gets dogged for being a bad lyricist, but I mean, there's deeper stuff going on with those lyrics than most people's lyrics.
Yeah, because he'll start the lyric. He'll start the thing about a subject, and then
He takes
the second
one-
part he said, it's not this if you take away one letter.
Right.
And what he just said is that.
I mean, that you gotta have some
Every
brains.
single line.
You gotta have some brains to do that.
And I
kind of
didn't even
stuff.
realize. And you can go. There are websites you can go to. You can type in that and go, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah.
And they'll show you every line and what
Yeah,
it does.
I mean, you know what an anagram is when you mix it's like jumbling the letters
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
But who's Mongo?
That kind of reminds me of Weird Al's Bob. Bob is
yeah.
not an anagram. What do you call the palindrome?
Palindrome.
Where every single line is the same frontward
If
to
you
back. How
reverse
do they
it-
do that?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
These people have.
People with a lot of time on their hands.
no, I'm just saying their brains are like
Right.
they're like geniuses.
Something.
Lyrical geniuses.
Right. Yeah. Same.
Okay, so that's the. Was there any other singles besides Show Don't Tell?
The Past.
The
which
Past. I
is-
thought the
well,
Past was.
they
Is that
even
the one
had a
with the bass
video.
at the beginning?
Yes. Yeah, and even had a video where it looks
Yeah.
like somebody's about to jump off a cliff or something, I think.
Yeah. So, but all the songs are pretty neat. So that's why we went on the tour because they were
Yes.
so
The second side of that.
hard to find singles that they released on any of these albums because they weren't a top.
I know,
mainstream
but
band.
that's why ranking these is harder because you can't go by the Billboard charts at all for
Yeah.
the list.
Right.
It's like, what do we remember them playing on the radio? Because I know we were probably focused on
Well,
when's the next album coming out, and you had to listen for that first single.
Well, not only that, the songs they put out for the singles they put out every album was being played on classic radio stations.
Right.
The classic radio stations were the ones
I know.
doing the new songs.
and you couldn't wait for the video because they did some of the first songs they never put a video out for.
Yeah.
Force 10 never had a video for.
Yeah.
So you can't go by MTV.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
3
90, 91, 92, 3 years without an album.
Right, yeah.
I would say if you ask me, I'm like, is that when?
It didn't. No, it
Okay.
didn't happen until they stopped making albums for a longer period. of
Okay,
time.
so I don't know why.
Couldn't tell you either. Why is it?
That's a 3-year gap.
3-year gap. It's not that bad. It depends. And just like Def Leppard, we wondered why, and ZZ Top, we wondered why there were gaps in some of the places. ZZ Top actually went on tour for over 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like 2.5 years. And we're like, what'd they do? They were on tour for a long
Well,
time.
we surmised that, but I was joking.
I know. I looked it up. I couldn't
because
believe they were still on
they
tour.
are still selling out. Might as
So
well keep
I mean,
going.
especially we got Presto and Show of Hands at the same year. They were probably taking longer tours.
Okay, so the next one was Counterparts, and I was working at Walmart on the midnight shift when Counterparts came out, and all I remember is every time I was putting stuff away on the shelves, I kept hearing Cold Fire.
I heard
Stick It Out is the first single.
Yeah, I heard a single. Actually, a radio station. They had Geddy Lee as a guest DJ, and they were playing songs from this. And to pick the songs, he goes, "We're gonna roll these." And he goes, "Like, you got a bag of bone or no?" No, that was for.
Where is Roll the Bones?
That's a good. That's what
We missed Roll the Bones.
That's what
why,
I'm missing.
That's why it looks okay. Roll the Bones is up there. Holy cow!
That's why there's no gap.
There is no gap. We
There's a
missed
gap.
an album.
Gap in my brain.
Roll the Bones came out, and that had the first. That was the first song was Dreams.
I don't know why I was saying that about Counterparts, but I remember Geddy Lee.
Dreamscape.
Dreamline. Dreamline and Roll the Bones and Ghost of a Chance. Probably the most hits I remember coming off of an album on the radio.
Right, and Roll the Bones had the song itself had
A rap.
a rap. I don't know. Is it Neil Peart that sings it? It sounds like.
I don't know. And we went to concert. I went to Presto.
Well, when we
was
went to that
after-
concert, they had the screen up and the animated skeleton sang it.
Yeah. So we
didn't actually hear that. We weren't watching the singers. We were watching the screen.
Yeah.
So
we don't know who
We have
sang
no
it.
idea who. But it's a good rap. You can memorize it pretty easy.
So does that mean we they had the bunnies there? We didn't go see it. We saw For the Roll of Bones, not Presto.
No, we saw Presto.
Well,
Oh yeah, but you said no.
have we gone?
No, because that was probably your third concert that I didn't go to.
So you just
maybe
saw.
I just saw the video. Maybe
Yeah,
it's the video
you saw
that did
the
that.
video.
Okay. I just lied to you guys. We do that a lot. We lie.
But I remember For Roll the Bones. That's why the Bones. I remember Geddy Lee being on a radio station, and they're gonna figure out what song to play. We're gonna, have you pick out of this bag, and here he goes. You got a bag of. He looks in, and it's like bones. So that was the next song we had to explain, and then played.
Okay, yeah.
I wish Cut to the Chase would have been a single, because that's one of my favorite Rush songs that's not a single. So, do you have a favorite Rush song that is not a single?
Yeah, I from Power Windows. I wish they would play Marathon.
You did say that. And it is one of the songs I considered putting on the charts, but I'm telling you, I don't remember it as a single. I don't remember thinking.
Was it a single? You said no.
I
they
don't
were playing-
think it
not
was.
a single. I thought you said.
Yeah, I don't think it was. And that's why I didn't have the chart, even though I think it is actually one of their more popular non-single songs.
Yeah.
I mean, that middle section is intricate
Yeah. I mean,
and complex and hard to play
yeah,
to.
I like those three songs in a row. Just Marathon, the Manhattan Project, Territories even. Territories.
Yeah, and we had mentioned already they added keyboards.
Yeah.
And that was obviously before, even before Signals. Vital Signs is keyboards, right? Does it have keyboards in it? I think.
Yes.
Okay, so prior to this, and then Signals, Subdivisions really.
I would say that intro is a keyboard.
Yeah.
'Cause there's no way you could play do 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 on a guitar or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but Marathon makes you're like, hey, they have a choir.
Yeah.
At the end of it, and then you get to the Hold Your Fire, and they have Second Nature, and you can tell that sounds like those stringed instruments that are playing along.
But it's still gonna be a keyboard, and they just put those sounds in the keyboard.
And then later in Counterparts or Clockwork Angels, they actually went out on tour
With the
with background
yeah.
orchestra.
Yeah. So Roll the Bones. If you like rap, Roll the Bones.
It's not like today's rap. It's a
No.
a slow rap. It's
No.
like Blondie's Rapture rap.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah, I could rap it. It's just Sam Sens and rhyming every other.
Right.
Alright, so then we talk about Counterparts doing Show Don't. No, that's.
Counterparts that
Counterparts.
stick it out.
Stick It Out was interesting because when it starts, da 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 da, you have in your mind what 1, 2, 3, 4 is, but then the drums come in and it's like, oh, I was on the and. So then you're all screwed up. It's kind of almost like Phil Collins' I Don't Care Anymore. The drums are a certain beat until you start singing like, wait, the drums were there.
Or even better example, Take It Easy. When they did bling,
Okay.
you try to come in on the right note there. You can't. And I've tried to figure out what note they're on, and at first I can't do it.
Yeah, so it's just funny. It's one of those things where it sounds like it starts here, but it actually started here. You just didn't know because it's the only instrument playing. So
And,
I really like Animate from.
and they had
Counterparts.
Nobody's Hero.
Starts with the drums. The probably is
And-
even Neil Peart that says 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah. What was their more famous song though? It's
Cold Fire.
Cold Fire. That's right. Cold
Yeah.
Fire. And then they had another
Instrumental.
And instrumentals are, and again, I mentioned to you this when the cameras were not running. We haven't mentioned anything about any of the artists that we've covered about Grammy Awards, which doesn't matter what you're voted for, whether your
Yeah, it
music's
doesn't
good or
matter
not.
on our ranking.
That doesn't, but it is interesting though that Rush, the only time they've ever been nominated for Grammy Awards is on their instrumental songs.
Yeah.
And they've never won. They've lost to somebody else every single time.
Because everybody looks and goes, who's Rush? I don't know who they are. Yeah, okay, so after Counterparts, we went to Test for Echo,
Yes.
and that song was, it's got a really cool drum part in there.
I like Test
In
for
the middle of
Echo.
the song?
It's right after the guitar solo.
Yeah.
And it's like
It just goes from all the way down.
All the way down. I love that part. And that's probably the only reason I write that
And
song.
Victor, who's Victor?
Now Victor, now you notice,
We went to school with a Victor, but I think that was his last name.
You'll notice after 1996 for Rush, there's a gap until 2002, which is a 6-year gap. This one wasn't a gap. We just messed up.
Don't
This is a legitimate gap of 6 years because of the tragedy in Neil Peart's life.
Yeah.
But so, and I don't know how he came out with it so quickly, but same year Test for Echo came out, which must have been early in the year. Alex Lifeson had his only solo outing called Victor. And he's got this weird cover with his face and chopped into 4 different sections.
Yeah, Neil Peart, we said, put out in Monitor, put Pieces of 8.
Yes.
I don't think he ever had a single album.
No.
And Victor from Alex Lifeson, didn't Geddy Lee have an album also?
He did, and it's sitting right here, and I actually bought it. Even though we're drummers, he's a bassist, I went out and bought his, and then I'm totally disappointed because it's not a very good album.
Doesn't sound anything like Rush. That's
And
why.
it's called My Favorite Headache, and I believe that's the only song he actually released,
Yeah.
and it didn't chart, of course.
And of course, that's what you got when you listen to it.
It's not good. And I didn't even look to see who the drummer was on that, because it wasn't Neil Peart, and so who cares?
Yeah, Test for Echo has a couple of videos, and I just remember the one they had Driven, and so they have these small people, little people driving cars,
Driving
racing.
cars. And they only had like 3 singles, and they were all the first 3 songs on that album. The other one would be Half the World. So in 2000 is when Geddy Lee put out his solo outing.
Right.
So I don't know, you consider that his second solo outing because he had the SCTV song that he charted it. So 2 years later, we don't need to go into details about his tragedy. He lost his wife and child within 6 months. And did you say they were gonna quit? I mean, I don't know if.
No, they were never going to quit. They just, Neil Peart and, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson just gave Neil
Him
Peart
time.
his time. Yeah, they
Yeah.
needed the time.
Yeah, Steve, for Def Leppard, the guy lost an arm, came back.
Yeah.
And then the guitarist died, and they could replace him. I'm not sure you could replace Neil Peart.
But he got married again.
He did.
He got married to a photographer. So I don't know if he met her while he was on the road with his bike. I'm sure there's a
Probably
story out there,
something.
but yeah. So, anyways, eventually they came back and
They came back.
got a new album called Vapor Trails.
And that's probably similar to
This is probably when I stopped buying their albums. My last album I bought was
Test for Echo.
Test for Echo.
Yeah. So Caress of Steel would be their worst album, but that's in the beginning of their career. Vapor Trails is pretty close because you expect more.
Yeah.
And I believe the sound quality was bad, which is why you can now go out there and see that they've redone the mixing on it because they knew how poor it was.
But they also have they got a couple instrumentals in that, or just
no,
one?
nothing in that one.
Nothing in that one. Okay.
Nothing in that one. And I don't know that there's any memorable songs. Far Cry was their only hit
Oh yeah.
with a video, and that's decent enough, but after that, and then that's when these songs, well, Test for Echo was when he started to put 13 songs on every album instead of 8.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next one after that was Snakes and Arrows. Is that the one? Which one has? That has to be the one with Malignant Narcissism.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm thinking I'm wrong. Didn't Test for Echo have a instrumental like Limbo?
No, I don't recall any.
If they did,
They did. It's not memorable because I don't
not
remember.
good. Yeah. So, so you were talking, but prior to Snakes and Arrows, which I actually like Snakes and Arrows, but Feedback, remember that one?
Yeah, but that was
2004, and Rush did cover songs on all these songs that supposedly influenced their playing.
Yeah, we're kind of just doing their studio albums with new music, though. I mean, because we missed Chronicles and
Different stages. And all that.
So
they put out so many albums, it's hard to keep track of.
yeah, I mean, even before this, they have Rio 40 when they were 40 years old.
Yeah.
And a live album there. So yeah, we're missing a lot of.
You thought Geddy's voice was weird prior to them getting really old.
Yeah.
Rio 40, he's sounding awful.
There was I believe it's Rio 40 that put out Working Man, but he does it in a reggae style, and I'm like, oh, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I've seen that video too.
I just see it normal.
So Snakes and Arrows, their one hit there is One Little Victory, but that's not their good songs. It's the rest of the album that is much better.
Yeah.
And similar to Analog from Mongo, he has a song on there, I can't remember which one it's called. I think it's the something about the bowl. I forget what the bowl is. But anyways, so the first chorus, you have 2 lines. You have a starting line and then the second line, and then the next pack of verses starts with line number 2 of the first one, and then it's got new lines after that.
Yeah.
And for every new section, it does that. The second line of the first one is the first line of the next
Yeah.
one.
So again, last 3 albums I'm not too familiar with because I just didn't think they sounded the same, didn't buy them, listened to them, I'm like, oh, all these songs sound the same to me.
Yeah.
So their later career, it really just didn't.
And Counterparts, or not Counterparts, Clockwork Angels, their last one,
They had the orchestra behind
they
them.
have the orchestra behind them. And
And the whole album's a theme.
yes. Caravan and Seven Cities of Gold are pretty decent. Seven Cities of Gold is pretty good live. That's the one where I like
Yeah.
the string instruments behind. Now, I'll tell you guys this. Neil Peart, again, he started writing books. He collaborated with a guy to write a book because it's all the songs are tied to make a story.
Yeah.
So he collaborated with a guy called Kevin J. Anderson, and that guy is married to the cousin of my wife's mom. So my wife's mother has a cousin,
God.
and that cousin is married to Kevin Anderson, who who collaborated with Neil Peart, and despite that tie, they lived out west. So I never.
So to us, he's a complete stranger.
Yeah, I can't. Unfortunately, I've never, other than going to the three concerts, I've never met the guy. So,
All right. Anyways, that's enough of their history. We've talked about long enough with that. Let's just get to our top 10.
top 10, and we knew that would be long. This will be our longest video.
Yeah, of
probably.
course, because we're into Rush so much.
Okay, so out of our top 10, this is the one we disagree the most with. the first top 5 songs, we both agree with. They should be in the top 10 list. The next 5 interchange between us of being in the top 10. We got 6 honorable mentions. I'm just gonna run down the list. It's interesting. They all come from different albums, I think, except for a couple. So the only song from Counterparts, honorable mention, Cold Fire. Test for Echo. I think you picked Cold Fire. Test for Echo. No, I did actually. Test for Echo. I picked Test for Echo. 2112. You picked 2112 in your top 10. Moving Pictures. You picked Limelight, I think. And for Hold Your Fire, 2 honorable mentions. Force 10, which I think is their better of all the 3 songs. And no, Time Stand Still. Time Stand Still I like the least out of the 3 songs from that album. Okay, so Hold Your Fire has our most songs out of this group of 16.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, number 10. You picked this as your number 4 song. I had this way down to number 18. Coming from Permanent Waves, Free Will. We both agreed that's their better song, but it still makes sense.
You're sick of it? Or what?
I just like the newer stuff better.
Okay.
Again, but that still gets in the 1980s. We don't have a 1980 up here anymore, but only one song I think came before 1980. Okay, so that's number 10. Number 9. I have this as number 8. You have it number 12. Show Don't Tell, and that's from Presto. I have the number 8 song I have as number 7. You have as 13. So again, you're ranking these outside. It's The Big Money. Funny, it's called The Big Money. Not
Yeah,
Big
it
Money.
never says the.
Number 7. Again, the older song. I ranked this way down at 15, but you have it way up high at number 5. It's Working Man. So the only song prior to the 1980s. Number 6. I have this song as number 3. You have it way down at 16. You reverse the newer songs. Dreamline, Roll the Bones. Okay, now the next we agree on.
You know why we're so like this? Because they have so.
They do. They have a lot of hits,
list.
long list of songs to pick from. I mean, they've been playing music
40 years.
40 years. You got a lot, and I didn't count how many albums there's, but it's a lot. Okay, number 5. I rank this as number 10. You have this at number 6. Their third song from Hold Your Fire in our group of 16, Lock and Key. My number 1 song, dropping down to number 4, and because you have it listed at number 9, is Mystic Rhythms. I wanted to get the body.
I would consider that the better song than
Yes,
from Big Money.
Right. I wanted to get the Body Electric in my top 10, but the more I listen to it, I'm like, it's bland drums. Boom, boom,
And he does that the entire song.
Yeah.
I don't think he veers from it.
Had it been peppier, faster, maybe, I don't know. Okay, number 3. You have this as your second favorite song. My 5th, Roll the Bones. And that would be 2 Roll the Bones songs in our top 6. Number 1 for you. Number 6 for me. I'm just not as impressed. I don't know, there's something about the keyboards that it's like doesn't go with the rest of the song to me. Tom Sawyer. I actually think I can play that on the keyboard if I tried it again. And then our number 1 song. I have this as my second best song because I had Mystic Rhythms obviously as number 1. Your third best because you had Roll the Bones and Tom Sawyer. So your top 3 made the top 3, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, so your third song, my second, Subdivisions. That's our number 1 Rush song for our top 10. All right.
All right. So next week.
Next week, here's our hint. The band's name is a car. I don't know. It's not the Cars.
No, yeah, it's not the Cars. Yeah.
And
a car.
And if you see the lead singer today, you would think it's somebody's grandma. Do you have a hint?
I know who it is. I already know who it is.
I know, but what hint would you give? Because he does. He looks like somebody's grandma when he comes out on stage.
Yeah. Well, I know that they also. It seems like a lot of these bands have had, if they're a band, because obviously the singles, like Huey Lewis, Phil Collins, Billy Joel, we can't say this, but the bands we've done, Def Leppard, ZZ Top, Rush, and the next people, they've all had somebody die in their band. So
That's true. That's true.
this band is also similar, had somebody die.
Yeah, somebody that was a big part of their band. Too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you're a Rush fan, what's your top 10? What's your favorite? Do you disagree with our list? Tell us, like our video, subscribe, share,
Make a comment.
make a comment. Yeah, we haven't any comments yet, but, you know, who knows? By the time people watch these videos, like, oh, you talk about, there's like 25 comments here. Well, as of now, there haven't been a comment yet. So, so that's it for our video. It's a long one because we like Rush. Until next week, we'll see you. Bye.